Say, kids, what time is it? PDR tool time. What's up, everybody? My name is Myke Toledo on PDR Tool Time. We've got our co-hosts Daniel Grom, John Highley, and Vince D'Alessandro. Let's get right into it. This is about PDR tools, reviews, how you could use them, why we think you will like them. So let's get right into it, guys.
Hey, how are you doing?
What's up, guys? What's cracking? What's
Hey,
up,
Mike.
What's up,
Hey,
John?
Vince.
What's going on?
John?
How you guys doing today?
What's up, Vinny?
Hey, gentlemen, how are you?
Okay, so we are going to get right into it. We're going to talk about some tools that we actually like. And, Daniel, go ahead and go. Vince today, he doesn't really have much to do. But if you notice Vince, he doesn't have much tools he buys anyway. So he's always the devil advocate. He's going to be like one of those guys that doesn't buy tools. And once in a while, he will buy a tool.
Convince him.
Yeah, that's the thing. We got to try to convince Vince to buy it. And if he buys it, it's a sure thing. So.
Yeah.
So what's crack-a-lacking? What do you got going on, Daniel? What do you got to bring up?
Well, when I was at MTE, I always look for the obscure stuff and little things, and a tool that everybody has already in their toolbox. And I picked up Ultra came out with a new door jammer, and I like my door jammers. I have quite a few. I still have my original Steck door jammer, which worked, but it was always sloppy. And Ultra came out with one, and immediately I looked at it and I go, wait a second, that thing has a little knob on it and it extends.
Oh,
And it's very similar to B&D's door jammer, but it has a much smaller profile, but very similar features. And if you've seen the B&D, it's a very nice door jammer. And when you put it into place, it locks down. That door does not have any slop in it at all.
Is it quicker to set up? Any quicker?
No, it's like I said, it's very similar to the B&D, but it is smaller, a little bit lighter. It feels a little bit nicer in your hand. The fit and finish on this thing is beautiful. I mean, they did a really nice job. The one thing I do like is the wheels are much smoother than the B&Ds. The B&Ds, I've got two of them, and they're not as smooth as this. The big difference between this and B&D is it has a nut on it, or hand nut, and you can extend it.
all right, Daniel,
You can
time
keep it
for,
short.
I got to give you a little bit of a question.
Yeah.
I have a few questions for you here. We work on a lot of German cars down here in Orange County.
Oh, you talking
And
about that jam?
Same with you, Mike, down there in San Diego. And a lot of those tool jammers do not fit around some of the E classes and S classes on the jam.
You talking the old Mercedes or new?
There's a few new ones that still just don't have that hook latch system, like, in 80% of the cars out there. The old E class, there's that plastic around the latch.
I own the same one, Daniel, and I see where Vince's coming point, and I honestly, I still use I have all the door jammers, including the B&D, and I do think it's probably one of the best ones that came out. But I use my vice grip and my hook thing, and some people don't like that play. I know you probably don't like that play, Daniel, but I don't really care for it. I mean, I don't talk about the play in the door. It doesn't bother me. What about you, John? Do you use as a jammer?
In all honesty, I actually have a B&D, and then I have like an old school, the original door jammer, the metal clanky,
Step,
one
yeah.
that you tighten with the wing nuts, so I've got one of them. But one of the things that I do quite a bit, because most of the time when we take off a door panel, okay, if we're not drilling a hole, we're taking off a door panel, you need more room. I mean, you need way more room than what a door jammer provides. So I don't want to discount the prop rod and the rope ratchet.
Exactly.
So,
Absolutely.
I lay that thing down with the rope. The only thing that sucks is when it's towards the front of the door.
Front of the door.
And then you get a fender in your way that you can't even get your light back there to see, but somehow we manage, but that's my take on it.
Yeah, but go ahead, Daniel. Sorry.
The Steck Tech actually makes a um, a prop for the hatch that's really
Oh,
long,
I've seen that. I've seen
Yes.
that.
and I use that when I need that door
Yeah.
really
Wide
wide,
open. Sure.
and that thing works actually pretty well. It's very inexpensively made, but it works great.
So kind of all in all, there's not one tool or door.
No, I mean you
prop
probably use 3 or 4 different door jammers in a way.
jammers.
It depends, like
Sure.
John says,
Yeah.
if you got a dent real close towards the front of the door, you can't get your light to get a good reflection there.
Yeah.
But you do make it work somehow, some way. But in general, I think it's a great improvement. I like the extension of that because sometimes we need the door to come out a little bit further.
Here's the only thing that I wish this thing did, and would make this thing far and above everybody else. When you extend it out, you almost want to try to pivot it and make it break in the middle at an angle, because sometimes your doors, when you have them wider open, the if your tool is straight, it wants to bend.
Yeah.
And he didn't make this a pivoting joint, and if it pivoted,
There
this
is
thing
one out
would
there
be-
that is pivoted. I used that one. I
There
forgot where I
is?
got it. Yes,
Really?
there is. It does have some Chinese or Japanese writing on it, but I bought it at MT a couple 2-3 years ago, and it's I want to say either Pro PDR Solutions or
Oh, really?
you know what I'm talking about, Mike or John?
No, I haven't seen it though.
I've
It's a-
never seen that. But what's the length on that thing, fully adjusted, Daniel?
Um,
I mean, just a guesstimate. I know you can't tell us. Is
It's
that like a
still-
B&D size for the people who are going to hear this?
It
it's
looks
Currently closed, it's about the size of a B&D
like maybe
one, right?
15 inches or something.
no, it's about
No.
3 inches. When it's closed, it's about 3 inches shorter than a B&D.
No, I meant
And
length.
fully and
Ah, okay.
yeah, and fully extended, it's probably about
10.
2 inches longer than the B&D.
Okay.
No, but how long from end
Total.
to end does it extend out? I mean, like in length, how is that? Because the B&D is what, 7-8 inches in length?
Yeah, this is probably about 7 inches, I would
And
guess.
10 inches when it extends, right?
Yeah, something
So,
like that.
so basically, what I know why I'd want to extend is because sometimes when I'm like, let's say I'm working on a Bentley door and I got it jammed and I'm trying to get a tool around and I'm looking at my dent at the same time, sometimes the how small the door opening is won't give me my leverage that I need to bend the tool at. So with that extra 3 inches, that will allow me to have more room to get leverage around the door. Is that correct? That's probably why
Yeah.
we have it, right? So
Yeah.
cool.
And
And all
what?
the people out there though, they need to underestimate by about 2 inches, because everybody knows if you're a man, you're always 2 inches. Everything's 2 inches bigger.
I
I
don't know what
mean,
you're talking about.
that's
I don't know
just
what you're
it. It's so everybody, for all you podcasters out there, just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Now, you guys, just a real quick thing. If you guys are listening to this and you guys want to know what the heck we're talking about, we have a website called pdrtooltime.com. The podcast will be there, and also the show notes of the shots of the photos and of the tools that we are talking about. Sometimes we will have some video clips of that, but go check it out. And that way you guys can visually see what we're talking about. And we'll always have that on every podcast. We'll have a blog post regarding about the topics we're talking about. So, all right, John, you are next, dude. What you got going, dude?
I'm a lot like Vince. I get new tools, but I'm gonna be straight up with you guys. People just send them to me, okay? People a lot of times just send me tools and they say try them, play with them, stuff like that. I'll be straight up. Before I started making videos and people wanted to send me their tools and wanted me to use them and stuff like that, I probably only had 17 or 18 tools on my cart, and I want to think of that as the simple days of greatness because and it's not that I don't love having great tools for great access, but it's that I spend half my day searching for tools. I mean, I have so many tools now that I literally
Yeah.
I'm digging through, and it always disappears. I got 2 carts floating around my
So
shop.
basically, you're saying it's like finding a parking space. You like, it's like if
It's
you got like 10 parking spaces you can choose, you don't know which one to go into.
it is
But
yes.
when you have one or two,
Like
you go.
yes, that's it.
Well,
I would
are
I
you
would
are you a messy dent guy? Are you?
dude, I'm
I
a
think we
little
all
like
are, dude.
you
Yeah,
know,
I
I
am.
mean, I got like Alan. If you guys ever met Alan before, all you guys out there who came to my shop has met Alan. He literally follows behind me and cleans stuff up, and he knows where everything's at. It's wild.
Vince, you're shaking
Like,
your head, dude. Why?
like
Because Mike, you are not messy at all, dude. Your truck is organized. It
not
doesn't
okay.
even look like you fixed door
Bull
kings,
crap,
man.
dude. You should. Yeah,
Every
dude.
time I come and see your truck, I'm like, holy cow! How does he keep it all neat? He must not be fixing anything.
But he does have Mike has a straight up good setup, and
He
you guys
does.
laugh about my gobbled up glue gun and all that kind of stuff, but it works.
I'm like you,
And
John.
yeah. So, but I just want to bring back the old school, something old school, and the Porta Power has been like my best friend over the last few years that I've had one. And I say old school because it's like an old school body technique that we kind of brought into paintless dent removal when we realized that, there's certain areas that you're double panel and you can use these Porta Powers to move massive amount of metal. The
Now,
freaking thing comes with a tip on it that's like a giant soft tip. It's a big
I
freaking piece
know.
of rubber.
I kept looking at one of those at Harbor Break or Harbor Freight, whatever you call it,
You
and
need
I was
2
like,
people.
and now that you brought it back up, I'm like, dang, I need to get one. And I know Daniel probably has 1 or 2 of them already, dude.
I've got 2.
I knew it,
You
dude.
got 2 of them.
I knew
But
it, man.
Daniel,
Now,
I always find
explain
I
to
need
people
2
what a
people.
Porta Power is. If
Well,
somebody
basically, a Porta Power is like a jack that you can put together. So you can assemble these bars, and it basically has a pump that connects to it, and you can literally jack this thing out from I don't know. I mean, you can go as small as like 3 inches, 4 inches, or you can even buy these little cylinder plates that will jack up. Only 2 or 3 inches, or you can extend the thing out as long as you possibly can. So basically, it's a giant bar that you can put in and leverage against the back part against something. And as you jack it, I'm telling you, it'll take a car off the ground. I mean, you can jack a car up off the ground with Porta
Sure.
Power.
Yeah.
So you don't
Um,
need a compressor near you, like a mobile guy can do it, use it.
Not at all.
Not at all. Yeah, it's just
It's
a
just
pump.
it's just heavy, and
It is
it's
heavy.
it's a big item.
Yeah,
Yep,
it's
and
probably 40-50 pound item. That's
No
gonna be
way,
sitting
really?
there. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Box.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
pretty
Boxes
much
of
got to
these.
leave it at home. If you know you're
Well,
doing a
they-
nasty dent, you got to bring that sucker with you.
They have
Or for us, they have
different
shops.
sizes.
It's in
Again,
the shop.
for me, all you guys who know Alan, my boy, he's like crawling under this thing and he's like putting the Porta Power. He's like one of them dudes who gets to work and he's totally greased up from head to toe by 9:30.
Yeah.
And I mean, he'll just crawl under a freaking vehicle. He'll put that thing up there and I'll tell him, move it a little up to the left, a little down to the right. And I'll put the pump up on a chair where I can stand up and visually see the panel. And I'll just pump it and put it in and I'll have him move it. And I've seen him, he's laid under a car for 45 minutes moving that thing. And I'm telling you, that thing weighs every bit of 50
So
pounds. It's
so John, where do you use the Porta Power the most?
Well, I'll tell you what, this week I used it on I had a rear bedside on a Dodge truck that was literally buckled in from the backside and it buckled the wheel well out. So we went through the double panels and popped it up underneath the wheel well, the rear wheel well, and we dollied out the whole bedside.
Now
And it
you're
was
jacking off.
beautiful.
You're jack.
You're jacking off. Now you're jacking off. Now
I had a
okay?
guy one time say that to me. We were out at his house, and he's like, I had to get
Oh
a
my
rear tire off, and he looked at me. He's like, "You want me to jerk it off?" And it was like that freaking moment where we looked at each other, and we just both know what just happened, and we were like, "Oh gosh." That was
Let me
awkward.
rephrase that. Are you
Awkward.
leveraging off the frame?
Yeah, basically levering off the inside of the frame, and we put a little cushion back there behind it
Yeah.
because I'll tell you a quick story. I was working inside I had this guy bring this old Honda. I mean, this thing was like dirty, beat up, looked like it sat under a tree for 2 years, but the rear quarter was smashed in so bad the taillight wouldn't get in. So it was smashed down, it crumbled out the taillight, and he's just like, please, the cops won't let us drive it. Please do something, So we put that Porta Power in there, went to jack it up, and we used the metal wall that's inside the trunk, when you take it down, that metal wall towards the back of
Yeah.
the seat. And we started pushing that thing out and started it started coming out, started moving. Next thing you know, we're here, bang! We looked in there. The rear part of the Porta Power shot through that metal wall on the inside of the freaking back of the trunk.
Well,
So
you know,
watch that, man.
well, speaking of that, John, I mean, you did a cool tutorial. It wasn't the Porta Power, but you put a basketball and inside.
I know.
And
I was so
that
angry
sucker
when
came
people
out
started
also.
telling people about that online. I'm like, shh, don't tell anybody. They got to watch the videos, you know?
Yeah.
And then people just kept telling people and then taking photos, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, the cat's out of the bag. I use a freaking basketball.
Yeah.
But it's unbelievable
I
how
gotta,
well.
I got to get myself a Porta Power though. I got to do it.
Absolutely.
Well, you can get a smaller
dude.
one, so you can take that mobile with you.
Well, you know, like you all three of you guys have a shop now, which me and John were talking about earlier. But and Daniel, I'm going to start documenting the process of me going through looking for a shop, preparing for a shop, all that stuff, which is going to be pretty cool. We'll document it on Dent Trainer, and we'll talk about it in future podcasts. You know, and all three of you. I think Vince is the latest one to get a shop, but you've had it for how long now, Vince?
We've been there a year and a half. This May will be 2 years.
Now, I know it's a little off topic, but right off the bat, do you think you are making? Does it help your business? I mean, is you helping your income at all?
Absolutely. It's our income this past year was our best year ever, and we're probably up about 35-40%.
Okay, that's all my wife needs to hear, so she can hear this.
Yep. Yep. And I'm not traveling as much now. I still go mobile on Tuesdays and Thursdays just because I've been mobile for 21 years, and I don't want to be stuck in a shop.
Yeah.
Just yet. Yeah. 24/7.
All right. Well, we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about something that I keep using more and more, and I keep actually modifying my tools, and that's going to sharp tools. I mean, I honestly don't touch a dent at all without using sharp tools. And some of my favorite tools are the Mark Zirkus set from PDR Finesse, which are phenomenal. I mean, the sharpest tools out there. And if they can get as sharp as I want them, like needle sharp, the better for me. I see the tool tip much faster. I can pinpoint a gnat's butt in midair with that dang friggin' tool. I mean, it's so accurate. I even took Ultra's picks, those long picks that he has, and I told him I want it sharper than that because it's just too dull for me. Even though they're great for most people, the main thing is there's three things why I like them. Number one, I can finish really well. Two, John Highley talks about in Dent Trainer, shrinking metal. You really can tighten up an oil can dent with sharp tools. You can't do that with another tool. You actually will go backwards by stretching it even more with a tip that's dull or a soft tip. A lot of guys make a mistake is that they actually take a soft tip and they'll try to push on an oil can dent, which just completely just destroys the dent. And John, you can elaborate on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll be the first to tell you guys the reason why I got involved in wanting to learn how to do oil can dents is because I was freaking oil canning dents left and right. And, it was one of my worst, problems
weakness.
that I had as a weakness as a PDR tech. So as I began exploring these things and I met my buddies that were hail techs, I met some of the best people. Seth Byerly was one of the ones that showed me the prop rod technique that just stabilizes the panel while you're doing that sharp tip pushing. But for all you guys, I want you to visually imagine this, okay? Take a coat hanger, a metal coat hanger, and you expand it all the way out, right? And you need to make that thing shorter. You have to make that metal coat hanger shorter. And, it's all spanned out. It's one straight line right now. What you do is you have to bend it up and down, up and down, up and down until it eventually shrinks and becomes shorter. And that's what sharp tips do when you're working on a dent. You just got to do that in a 360-degree manner while you're working your way through the damage.
Well, good analogy.
Yeah, good job, John. And that's exactly why we're doing these type of tool reviews. And
so let me ask you this. So for those guys out there that haven't explored with sharp tips, what do you guys do to keep the paint from cracking when you're using a sharp tip? I mean, I know, but I want listeners to.
Okay. Do you mind if I inject my point of view on that, Mike?
No, go for it. Yeah.
Okay. Basically, you don't need to see movement like right off the bat. Everybody thinks that you got to see immediate movement in your damage. Practice working that dent, getting the feel down. If you push it a little too hard, you start to see a poke mark. Back it up slightly. You want to move the metal, but not put an
Right.
indent in the paint.
Yeah.
And there is skill to that. So, but you got to work that. People just want automatic movement. They want to see it move right now, and that's the worst thing. I mean, sometimes I would count. I actually started counting these and trying to figure out how many pushes I had to get to shrink a dent. And there was times I was in like the 150, 200 pushes before I actually started seeing significant movement on a real nasty oil can dent. So
Yeah.
just don't start moving the metal too fast.
Now, the one area that I think it's a must is aluminum and high strength steel. You have to have a sharp tip tool. If you're not using sharp tip tools on aluminum and
Yeah.
HSS, you're blowing it.
Yeah, I agree too. And to add to what John said, regardless, I use when I'm doing hail, I use fog a lot and on further damage on roofs. For me to use sharp tip tools, I have to have my fade very, very wide, and so I can see the plane, all the orange peel, and I can see my pushes very easy. Now with lines, I'm going to move my lines, make them thin enough, and I try to match the lines up to the thickness of that tooltip. Now the lines has to be super thin, because if you have too thick of a line and you're pushing with a sharp tip, it's like actually trying to see a skinny person behind a table that's lifted up, you know what I mean, or behind a wall, or behind a pole. If you've got to make that tip, the lines thin as the area of the tip you're pushing, because otherwise you won't see it until too late. So that's some of my analogies on how to look at a
What do you
reflection.
think, Vince?
I use sharp tips all the time. Always have since inception, back in Dent Wizard days. But I use them to finish a dent or on aluminum. It's an absolute agreement. You need them on aluminum panels. You'll get the dent up quick.
Yeah.
And a high strength steel. It was funny years ago when I did start with Dent Wizard, we were issued sharp tools, and then they came about 6 months later and collected all our sharp tip tools away from us.
Why?
I have no idea. There was too many guys
Chewing
like
up
newbies
shit.
chewing up shit. Yeah. I still have one though. I still have a blade tip, which is like an original one that I still pull it out from time to time. But there's definitely better sharp tip tools now than some of those old Dent Wizard ones.
Yeah, I think every tech should start getting into it. I think a lot of techs were afraid of those tools, especially when I first saw how sharp those tools were. I just kept thinking about how many techs are going to just destroy panels. I was like,
oh sure.
I guess I kept picturing myself destroying the panel, because
well, I got a funny story about that too. When I was last year at MTE, not this past one, but 2015, when I was judging the Dent Olympics, you could see the people using sharp tips. And there was a couple of these guys. They had such precise pushes, and you could tell that they started it with a sharp tip, which I personally probably wouldn't have done it with a sharp dent like that. But it was almost like a machine came and embossed it. It looked like a golf ball. I'm like, how did they manage to have such control of their
tight pattern?
It was such a tight pattern that it was impressive. It was really impressive.
Well,
had they done that on the flip side of it, they probably, and their dents were completely straight, flat, but you could see every single mark in a pattern. It was really cool. It was kind of like that tin tattoo that Jeremy Taylor
tin
does.
Tattoo.
Cool.
Another good thing about using these sharp tip tools is that, like, I'm sure you guys had that backing inside of a vehicle. And when you're working a dent so much that it actually creates a little ridge or a little ditch inside the dent, and then you try to finish that last little bit and it slips off and it keeps going back into that little channel that you've been digging behind the backing. Well, that sharp tip kind of bites through that and locks into the area you want to get to, especially that waffle backing, that kind that you push and you hear that.
No, the Kevlar on it?
Yes, that's the worst, man.
I hate that shit.
That is the worst. So that's my three things. That was my last thing I was going to mention is how how well they work for those type of situations. So anyways, we're going to take just a quick 20-second break for our sponsor. Hey, you veteran PDR techs, thinking about getting into motorcycle PDR? Or perhaps you already are, but you don't have that professional stand? Well, the new Daniel Grom PDR Vice 2.0 offers the ultimate gas tank setups with better leverage, stability, and access when it comes to those challenging dents. Order your MPDR Vice Stand 2.0 at motopdr.com. Let's get into some any news, Vinny, that we have today on this thing.
Yeah. You know what? The common thing this week is all the imposter Cola Frias out there. It's getting kind of hilarious. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing for Cola Fria, but
might as well bring it up because me and John and Daniel were I was talking to John just a second ago. Daniel, you're gonna this is an interesting story, but I was talking to John and I'm gonna let John tell the story. But I said, so John, how did you like? He goes, I just tried that Cola Fria. I don't know, man. I don't know quite know. I said, well, where'd you get it from? Oh, I got it from Colton.
Oh,
okay.
Well,
all right, go ahead.
That's
John,
beautiful.
Take it away. Tell me what your thoughts. You give your own story on it.
You know what? I was able to move some dents with it. I haven't tried Cola Fria, to be honest with you guys. So, I mean, I have nothing to compare it with. I literally took it out of the can right before the show. I stuck it to a minivan that we have here. But this was getting some paint work, so it's got dents so bad that it crushes like down into the jam and all that kind of stuff. And I was able to move it, and I was able to move some of it, like the shallow part of it. But I'm interested in checking out Cola Fria as well. I want to see the power of the pool versus the power of this pool.
Speedy glue? Is that what
it's called? Speedy glue. It was pretty cool. I mean, I'm like one of them
I can tell you right now, by your reaction and that you're not excited about it, that
because you don't have the right stuff.
It's not the real deal.
I haven't tried it yet.
Would be talking like that.
It takes a lot for me to get excited about a tool. To be honest with you, like even if Cola Fria was here, Myke knows me. Look, me and Myke just bought brand new mics, okay? And he keeps asking me like, "Have you tried it yet? Have you tried it yet?" I sit here and look at things for 5 or 6 days before I even try them. I haven't even tried it. So I'm just the kind of person I don't get, like, I get it here. I'm excited to get it. But then when it gets here, I like look at it. It's like I got to make sure it manifests as like a real thing before I actually try it.
I guess we're a good balance because I'm the opposite, man.
Me and Daniel are
excited about stuff.
Yeah.
I know.
But the Cola Fria, if you have the real deal, I was looking, I was ready to start putting in my truck and go around parking lots looking for stuff.
Doing freebies.
Because it was, because it was so much fun. I mean, I was having a blast using it. I was just laughing.
Daniel's savior.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the main things right now. It is all the imposters and not just imposters, but there's people making fun of it. I think Carl Stuckey posted something today about, he had a funny name for it. It's Tommy's something.
Snot glue.
Yeah, something silly. Now people are posting pictures of chewing gum, but it's not butyl tape.
Chewing gum.
We've already established.
Okay, let me set the record straight. So everybody was posting what they think it was. So I went out and I started buying all the stuff that everybody was suggesting.
Same here.
So I bought the 3M. I bought the stuff that you hang on the walls that's blue. And I mixed it with WD-40. I mixed it with kerosene, and it was this gooey, ooey mess. But the advantage I have is I have the Cola Fria to compare it to. And then I tried butyl tape, and I mixed that with kerosene. And then I mixed it with WD, and none of it is even close.
Good God, man. Do you own a meth lab as a second business or something like that?
Well, hey, if I can get geeky about something, I will, man.
Here's the best or worst thing about it. Everyone is bothered by the fact that they cannot figure out what the stuff is. We know it comes off of a car. That has been established. It's a product that's on a car. But here's the kicker. You get that tin. Now it's been discounted on colafria.com to like $69 because of the Speedy glue from Colton. So that can
power of competition.
Yes, absolutely. However, and then Paulo dropped his price as well to $69 for the original, and the original is on colafria.com.
See, I wouldn't have done that, but okay, go ahead.
I wouldn't have done that either. I'm not exactly sure why he did that.
In fact, yeah, raise the price back up, man, because we don't want everybody having this stuff.
But in all honesty, how long is that tin of Cola Fria going to last you? It's not like you're using the whole
He told me 10 years.
blob.
He told me 10 years.
I honestly,
It's going to last forever.
I know.
So
Me
for
between, yeah, and
not to spend $160 on a metal tab and a can of Cola Fria that's going to last you 10 years, it's just kind of moronic in my opinion.
Well, you guys, I ordered it. John's got it. He doesn't have the original Cola Fria. John, I'm going to work on getting you some. Matter of fact, you know what I'm going to do, John? I'm going to actually take some of mine. I'm going to send you mine. Okay.
Yeah, you got plenty.
I'm going to send you.
Hey.
I'm going to send you some, and you'll guarantee you, but you have to use it on a metal tab, and you have to use a heavy slide hammer
and slam it.
And
slam it hard.
Slam it. Yeah, but like Vince, you have it. Give your opinion on it. What did you like?
I've used it on. I like Daniel. I'll pull it out on door dings. I'm trying it on everything first.
Hold on a second. Hold on,
Vince.
I have to clear the air for something. In case you guys don't know, Vince is the cheapest PDR tech in the world, and for him to actually say a tool works, you better listen. Go for
Thanks,
it.
Mike. Thanks for leveling the playing field there.
Go for it.
But I had a truck bed, a F350 truck bed. The bed of there was a 2 foot long crease on the side, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just stick it on there, see what happens. I pulled it out, and was it good? No. Did I speed up the process rather than putting glue tabs on it and pulling it out and waiting for glue to heat up and taking it off and this and that? Absolutely. I got the meat of the dent out. It was probably about 3-inch wide crease. It didn't get the crease portion, the deepest portion of it out.
Yeah.
But I went back there and hammered it out with the hammer and got it straight for, push to paint. I'd used it on that. I used it on a baseball dent on a Mercedes the other day, and it pulled out 60% of the dent, not the sharpness of it. So, their hot glue, regular glue would have worked better, but it is pulling. It's pulling crazy stuff. Besides the soft impressions, which we already know, the three of us minus John know that it works on that already.
See, John, I'm telling you, I'm going to send it to you Monday. I'm going to drop it in the mail with the tracking number, and you're going to friggin' guarantee you. And you don't need a lot. I think the biggest mistake I see people doing is putting a big freaking ball on it, and
right.
You want a thin layer on it.
Yeah, thin layer, man. Just enough to cover the surface. Just enough to cover the surface.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. With this speedy glue, I was kind of copying what Gene Fetty was doing. I was putting like half of it on there.
Yeah, I saw his.
I saw Gene Fetty's too.
He used way too much.
Yeah,
it's too much. And
compared to what you do for Cola Fria now. Now going back to Colton, and I know Colton's a nice guy, man, and I just don't. I have a feeling based on John's experience and based on what we saw on video, I don't think you're going to get the same results as Cola Fria, which I'm going to show. I mean,
we'll have to see when you get it.
I will. I'll put it side by side.
But listen, do understand you will get pulls off of butyl tape.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
you will.
But if the dent's shallow enough, but we're talking, I did a periscope the other day on a freaking little, crowned locked pressure dent on a GMC Terrain. I didn't think I was going to get it pull. I put it on periscope. I'm like, either I'm going to, do or die on this one, and it yanked like 75%, 80% of that dent out in one shot.
Absolutely.
And I was blown away. And that just tells you how much pull power. It's the snap that actually pulls that sucker really, really well. It's that tackiness. If you put your finger on it, you push it down, you can literally just see it kind of like lift up, and you're trying to get your finger right off of it. The other one just pops right off, any imposter. So, anyways.
Yeah, well, Mike, the one thing that I'm actually intrigued about is that when you pull, it doesn't leave a gnarly high spot like a glue tab would.
Yeah, it doesn't overpull.
We spend a lot of time freaking working them gnarly high spots that glue tabs pull,
That's exactly what's great about it. I mean, I did one yesterday. This is my last dent, and I'm going to be editing that clip, this weekend. It's going to show you guys how much time it saves, Yes, there was a part where we could actually take a suction cup literally and pull it out, but then you'd have still a major crown here and a major crown below it. And if you took your hand and you went behind it, you're going to most likely over push it as well. But this pops it in just the right areas, let you do your crown work, and let you keep pulling as much as you can. And that saves you more time in the end.
You know, for the people out there listening who are just maybe getting into big dents, what you know, something I like to explain on this. Sometimes a crown needs reverse pressure, because if not, you're going to beat little dents all over it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be much worse unless it has somewhere to flow. It has some sort of resistance pattern. So what Mike's saying is he'll take the meat of a dent out, and there'll be a couple crowns left behind. And because it has that resistance in the middle, he took most of the dent out. It's going to allow that crown to flow back to where it came from.
I think that's a mistake that a lot of guys make, is they start pounding on that crown right away. And I think you have to listen to the dent. I personally always push the dent out first. I start pushing the dent out first.
Now, Daniel,
give that to release.
To say something about that right there, I'm with you on some dents, but I always say it's a dent versus crown ratio. So if you got a dent that's nothing but crown, then you're going to work the crown first, because it's nothing but crown. If you got a dent that's a big dent and it's got a crown on it, so let's say it's 20% crown, 80% dent, you're going to want to move that metal first to give that reverse pressure.
Yeah.
But if you got the exact opposite, let's say you got like 80% crown, 20% dent, that crown's going to release that 20% of the dent.
Right. Know? Well, it's a tug of war, give and take. Yeah, exactly. You got to listen to it.
It's all instincts.
I always try to figure out a percentage, but what are our dent guy percentage anyway? I can get it out 95%. You know, it's like,
for me, it's
really no. It's just
no. For me, it's all about bridging the gap between the crown and the dent. So
yeah, do we like count any little spots that might be? You know,
no, you're right, Vince. You know, it's either you're pushing. Go ahead, Vince.
Well, sometimes you're pushing it out just to build a gap between, or a bridge that's going to get that crown to flow down into that dent.
Right.
So, and it's a give and take, like John said.
Right.
Well, you know you did it wrong when you start hitting that crown and it's
denting on the outside.
It starts creasing. Yeah. It starts those rivers.
Right. You start leaving little lows more than 2 or 3 times. You need to start taking some pressure right below the crown. So,
or even worse, the dent gets bigger as you're doing it, and it goes. The whole thing goes lower. You know.
All right, we're gonna just move on to one more sponsor before we wrap it up to the tool tip. What we should be doing. I think some of us have some cool tool tips we could talk about, but we'll be right back after this quick intro, or actually commercial. I always preach PDRs like mixed martial arts. You have to know how to be a black belt in all categories. At Dent Trainer, you can improve your skills no matter what skill level you are as a PDR technician. We have all the latest video tutorials that are described in extreme detail with diagrams and clear explanations. Let's say you're a route tech and you want to branch out into the hail. First thing you'll want to know is how to write a proper estimate. Or perhaps you're curious about the line board and want to become better at reading that particular reflection. Or maybe what's up with the new cold glue? We have it at Dent Trainer. Check it out. Memberships start as low as $59 per month. And right now, you can sign up for 6 months for only $179. Become a Dent Trainer member. You'll be glad you did. Now, don't forget, guys, you guys can go to pdrtooltime.com. Check out all our latest podcasts and stuff underneath. You can go to denttrainer.com if you're interested in signing up. Now, getting into the tool tips, what we're talking about is we talk about some cool little techniques that we could actually give away and talk about on PDR Tool Time. John, you got one?
Oh,
I catch you off guard. I catch you off guard. I can go to Daniel. Daniel's got one.
Yeah, I've always got one.
Go ahead, Daniel. Let John think.
Mine's going back to the Cola Fria.
Right.
And I was taking out a tail light out of a Mercedes-Benz, and it's one of those tail lights that go really long along the side, right? And it had one of those mushroom posts that stick into it. And I was trying to get the thing out, and sometimes you don't know if it should slide backwards or it should pop out. You know, sometimes you just don't know. And I couldn't get that thing to move. And so I stuck the Cola Fria on there, and I popped it. And that's exactly what it needed. And it pulled that tail light out. It released that tail light out, and I was able to pop it out with the Cola Frio.
So
That is sweet.
yeah, I know, because sometimes I'm hitting it or I'll crack a light trying to get it out, or
Oh,
try
yeah.
to use a
I broke-
wedge.
Using the window wedge.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've broken lights before, so it worked really nice. You know what I also use is I also use my old wood suction cups, and I put like 3 links of of um, links on there, and use that for a handle,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'll use that to pull a tail light off.
All right. Cool. That's a good, cool little tip. Now, John, what you got, man? You got anything?
Oh, you know, it's interesting that that Daniel said that, because I seen something online one time that people will also use Gorilla Tape, and they'll put it on the side of the light, and they'll actually yank the light that
Yeah,
way
yeah.
as well. But one of my tips that I wanted to hit you guys up with: sometimes you get into a lower bedside, and you know, if you got yourself a dent dial, it's okay, but then you got to bend it, you got to get that right angle. Then you find that the bottom of it starts bottoming out to the bed. You know, you're just trying to fix a little dent, or you're trying to fix a crease or something like that. Get in your tool bag, grab yourself a 32-inch tool, flip it upside down, put the handle on the ground, bring the tip into the lower bedside, grab the middle of that rod, get your head sink to the side of that bed, and pull the middle of the rod and pull that tip down into the bedside. So that's a little tool tip there. I mean, it works like a charm. Your head is elevated. You're not holding a giant bar up in there that's kind of wearing on your arm per se. You actually, you guys getting a good visual of that when I'm saying that, Mike? and
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dan?
Yeah.
yeah, I follow you.
So
I've done
tool
that.
on the
Yeah.
ground. I won an account that way. I literally, some guy, he was a more experienced dent tech than me at the time, and this was years ago. I walked in there. He couldn't figure out how to fix a crease on the bottom of a bedside, and they said that he fooled around for an hour. And I went in there, and that's when that technique was born in my mind. I said, I'm going to figure this out. Flipped it upside down, got on a creeper, and just laid straight down and pulled that bar right from the middle, right into the dent, and fixed the crease right up.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, good points, guys. You guys are killing it. Now you know what? I'm gonna bring it, since you guys are bringing it, man. So today I did a dent on I hardly ever do them, guys. But today was an exception. I said, I'm just gonna try it, because every once in a while you go back. You go back to dents back in the day, and you look at it and you tried it and it didn't work. You try it again, you didn't work, and you're like, F it, I'm not gonna try those type of dents anymore. Anyways, what I'm referring to is refrigerators. Person calls me, they have a ding in the refrigerator. They're begging me to come out and try. I said, I looked at it, I'm like, all right, let's go check it out. So I go over there, and I said, well, there's only one way to get this, is I'm gonna be able to try to glue pull it. So I bust out Keith Constantino's new green tabs. I prep it, and I did have success with it. As a matter of fact, I had perfect success with it. But the tip I'm going to tell you guys is that, and it's a good one, because we're going to put it on Dent Trainer so you guys can see it and what I'm talking about. Number one, you got to make sure your glue gun's hot. Two, you've got to figure out the time on these things. It depends on what panel you're working on, but you have to figure out your timing on things. Obviously, the glue tabs help. The glue tab weld I used. So everything went into place to pull this dent. But the main thing is, if you don't use, the good tip about this is that when you're pulling the dent, a lot of guys will be able to pull a dent using glue pulling on a refrigerator. But when they go to tap down, they use too sharp of a tap down, and they leave marks in the refrigerator, and maybe indentations, because that stainless steel is a little bit thinner than you think. It's really soft. And so what I did is I used a soft tip of an R4 or an ultra soft tip, and I was able to tap that down very, very evenly, and then keep pulling it. I used a mini lifter to pull it, and I think you guys will be very surprised at how well results you guys can get doing refrigerators, and I think that might open up another avenue. I guarantee if I start putting refrigerator dent repair on my website, I might get more work than I can expect. So that's one of my quick tips. I think you guys should try out refrigerators.
I've done a lot of other appliances. Refrigerators, I haven't as much luck with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get requests all the time. I turn them down.
You know what happened to me on a refrigerator? I've at least got one of them out that I can remember. But then I went there and I was in this house where a contractor was putting in a refrigerator. Went and did the glue pull, and it looked great standing there. Went and walked about 10 feet away, and I could see every spot that I worked. And I can't. This was so long ago that I can't remember if I used a soft tip or not. It might have been Mike's tip there that got me. But I want you to pay attention. You guys who got stainless steel refrigerators at your home, okay, walk up close to it, but then walk far away from it and look at the imprints, how easy you can see the imprints from a distance
Exactly.
compared
Yeah,
to
you can.
being up
Yeah.
on them.
Yeah.
So that's what you got to worry about when you're doing one.
Yeah.
You almost got to do it. Take a step back and look at the overall picture, and just make sure that you're not making a mess of the the big picture.
That's, and you know what, before I talked to you, when I was going over there, John, we were talking about that, and that's what gave me the idea. It's like, man, if I take one like nice sharp tip that I like tapping down with on a normal vehicle, I'm like, dude, one wrong tap, it's over. I mean, I can't get that sharp little pinpoint prick out. So anyways, that's it's one of my quick tips, and I'll actually explain that full detail on Dent Trainer. I have video of it, and then I have pictures of it, and I'll be explaining it and breaking it down exactly what I mean. So, but okay, that wraps up this episode. This is I believe episode 3 or 4, but we'll tag it, make sure it's all good to go.